Oh, I am so excited about this episode. I think it's really important to do things that are out of the ordinary, and this is going to be an episode that is going to be out of the ordinary. As you could tell by the title of this episode, these are my absolute favorite gifts. Now, we are now in gift giving season, right? This is December now. We're kind of in gift giving mode. Everybody's out there getting ready to do gift giving, gift receiving. It's such an awesome time of year, right? It's a season of hope and all of that great stuff that we look forward to around this time of year. And I wanted to share with you my favorite gifts that either I give to myself, or maybe that other people have given to me in the past or do, or maybe things that I want to share. These are just amazing gifts. And maybe you'll learn a little bit about me that you didn't know, because I want to get a little personal with you and talk about all of these things. They're some of my favorite things that I love to do or see or have all the time. These are things that are always on my mind and bring me happiness all year long. Yes, I have a list. There's 10 of them. And so we're going to kind of ditch the regular format of this podcast today. And we're going to have some fun and reveal my top 10 favorite gifts that, again, help me feel fulfilled, maybe help me feel like I'm moving in purpose, and really just happier every single day. Let's get started. Let's go. Welcome to the Strength, Yoga, and Freedom podcast, everybody. This is the podcast where we use the philosophy of yoga in a practical and everyday way, one small step at a time, to become happier people and people who are driven by purpose. I am Justin. I am so excited that you're here for this episode because today I want to talk to you, me to you, about the things that I absolutely love in my everyday life. And these are some things that help drive me in my lane of purpose. These are the things that keep me happy. These are the things that light my fire, light up my soul. And some of them might surprise you. Maybe they won't. I don't know. But we're going to talk about them right now. I have to admit, this episode was supposed to be about another topic. It was actually going to be about something else. And I'm not going to tell you what it was because we're going to talk about what I thought we were going to talk about today. We'll talk about that in season 3 when it premieres at the end of January. I'm planning on maybe beginning of February of 2024. But we're going to shelve that topic now and put that into season 3 because this is going to be a lot of fun. I thought it would be a lot of fun to kind of talk about some of my most favorite things and the gifts that I like to give myself in this giving season because it's so important right now. Now, unlike Oprah Winfrey, I unfortunately don't have all of these gifts to give all of you. Like, she gave away all her, her cars and all the wonderful things that she had. So this is just a Justin's favorite gifts or things or ideas or plans or whatever you want to call it. But who cares? Because you know what? The things all around us are available for us to enjoy. They give us happiness if we tap into them and if we put them at the forefront instead of sometimes putting all the other stuff at the forefront, like trying to be dramatic and fix everything for everyone or controlling everybody or worrying about everything, right? We tend to put that stuff in the forefront. I want us to have a little fun and just enjoy the things that we have that we can give ourselves these gifts. So I encourage you to make a list of the top 10 things that make you happy in your life, things that you can do that are on repeat, right? These are things that propel you forward in your life that are constantly giving you happiness, long-term happiness too, not just those short-term bursts of happiness, long-term. You see, when you go into 2024, which is coming up very quickly, you want to honor yourself by giving yourself these things and knowing these are the things that make you happy immediately. Because in our next episode, we're going to talk about kind of a year wrap up and why I hate New Year's resolutions. We're going to talk about that. But in the meantime, it's really important to understand what are the fantastic, fun things you like to do for yourself. So let's get started with this. Now, before I actually start going through a list of things, I've broken this up into 3 sections because there are 3 main sections of my life that give me in these areas of my life. I've broken down even farther. So there's 3 main areas, and in each one, I have some cool things to share with you. And it adds up to a list of 10 final things that are related to that subcategory. So these are the subcategories. I love theme parks. That's number 1. Number 2, I love cruise vacations. And number 3, my day-to-day life, which I also love. So I love those 3 things on a kind of a group level. We'll call that group. They're grouped into 3 things. But now we're gonna go through each one, and I'm gonna give you specific things I like about those, because these are the things that they're my favorite. They're absolutely my favorite. So as I was planning my 2024 calendar of things I want to be doing next year, all of these things got equal weight, right? Cruise vacations did, theme parks did, and so did my day-to-day life. They all have equal weight on them, because it's important to know what I want to do in my life that's going to keep me on the level playing field of happiness and purpose. And so these are the things that keep me super happy. And then when I have to do the things I don't want to do every single day, I remember that there are some happy things coming up. So important. You look forward to them. And so that's part of being happy too. I believe that 100%. Let's start with theme parks. Number 1 with theme parks. So let me talk quickly about my history with theme parks. Now, when I was growing up in Ohio, there was a regional theme park in Northeast Ohio that went by the name of Geauga Lake. Some of you may know it. Some of you may have never heard of it. It's been closed for about almost a decade now. The whole park has been closed for almost a decade now, but it was somewhere when I was growing up. I did not go really anywhere when I was growing up. I did not have a childhood where we went really anywhere, okay? If you've listened to other episodes of podcasts, you know my childhood was not super great. It was not super happy. It was not super full of love, none of that. But there was one source of that, and that was going to Geauga Lake, and I absolutely loved it. I loved everything about the experience. It was a kind of a small family park. There's tons of YouTube videos on it. If you're a YouTube fan, go check it out, and you can see them all. And if you're a theme park fan, because it was an awesome park that wound up getting bought out by Six Flags, and then it then got bought by Cedar Fair, and at the end, it just didn't work out. There are 2 other great theme parks in Ohio still, Cedar Point and Kings Island, which I love to frequent. But Geauga Lake was really one of my favorites. And when I was younger, I never, ever wanted to go on any kind of rides. I was always afraid of them. I was afraid of heights, and still am. I am still very afraid of heights. I am also afraid of getting stuck or stranded on a ride and it ruining my whole day. I am deathly afraid of that. And I also hate large crowds. I know, right? I hate them. I don't like large crowds. Going to a concert gives me anxiety just thinking about it, because there's going to be a lot of people in one area. And then I always think, how am I going to get out of here? How is there going to be parking? How am I going to get out of the parking lot? All of that stuff. But here's the thing. Why then, if I don't like heights and I don't like these ride experiences and I don't like crowds, why do I like theme parks so much then? Here's the thing, because I discovered later in life that the reward for those experiences far outweighs the fears that I have, because the fears are up here. The experience in my mind, the experience is real. And that is a big thing for me. And I learned that a while ago when it came to theme parks, and I started riding rides, and I've loved them ever since. So what do I love about theme parks? Let's start my list of my favorite things, starting with number 1, planning a theme park trip. Even at the stage of buying a freaking season pass, which I just did a few months ago when they go on sale. They usually go on sale in August, and I immediately got my season pass for my Cedar Fair parks, because I'm going to be planning a trip that includes some Cedar Fair parks, including Kings Dominion and Dorney Park, and I'm also going to venture to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. So I'm planning a trip for 2024 that has some Cedar Fair in it, but it also includes Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. And I think planning the trips, for me, start the adrenaline rush. Just opening up the computer or looking on the phone or starting to notice, what are the times that the park is open? Or is the water park open? Those types of things. What's the food and the dining like? And all of that stuff. How many days am I going to spend there? Where am I going to be staying? How long is it going to take to get there? Those things, planning a theme park trip for me is so exciting. I cannot even stand it. It's so much fun for me. And so this gives me that rush, much like going on the rides do, which is part of some of my favorite things, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But the actual planning of things also gives me an idea of what I'm going to look forward to and how I can make some adjustments in the future. And then if I'm feeling kind of crappy or low, sometimes going back and looking at those plans or revisiting some plans makes me happy again. So let's talk about number 2. My number 2 favorite thing with regards to theme parks is the whole atmosphere of the theme park. Now, what do I mean by atmosphere? Well, I mentioned I don't like crowds, but do you know what actually outweighs the feeling of the crowd, not liking the crowd? When I focus on looking around and seeing how so many people are having such a blast in large quantities at theme parks. Like, for example, now when you go to a theme park, most theme parks have an app that you use, and you go on the app to see where you're going or what the show times are or where the rides are, where the food is. Before, there used to be maps that you would get when you go in there, and some parks still have these, and you open up the maps, or they have a big board that when you're walking through there, they'll say like, you are here, right? And it has the map. And I love watching people point and, oh, look at that, or, oh, we're going to go here, or, oh my gosh, look at that going on. And like, to me, to see the joy in people's faces like that is so exciting, because it's different than seeing everybody under stress and have woes and are complaining and are worried, and the things that sometimes you see in your everyday life when you're dealing with people all the time. And so I love to see that in those crowds. I like to see the kids happy. I like to see the adults happy. I like to see everybody happy. And so to me, the atmosphere of it is so exhilarating. I like the sounds that the rides make. I like to hear people screaming. I like to smell the food and the amazing, bakery items that go on, and funnel cakes and fudge and, all that great stuff. French fries, like all of that to me is a huge stimulant, right? It's a huge, huge dopamine push. And it's it's just amazing. And that means that from the moment I walk into the park, I feel like I'm enveloped in the park. And Disney and Universal Studios and some other parks, I mentioned Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, they do a great job of this too. They're really good at immersion. And so sometimes when you're in those places, you don't even realize there's an outside world going on. Now, I have never been to Disney in California. I've been to the one in Orlando, and we know that in Orlando, there was a lot more space for the Disney parks. In California, though, I definitely will be going there, but I also have seen before that the way that they keep things, the sight line out of view, so you can't see. Disneyland was built way back when Walt Disney built it. Now there's so much development, you can't see beyond some of the skyline. And I think that is so cool because you are immersed in it. So to me, being immersed in that place is so cool. So let's talk about my third favorite thing, the attractions, of course. Now, I don't just mean the rides. I love all the attractions. I love the roller coasters. I'll go on any roller coaster. I love them all. I love the water attractions. That means I'll go on log flumes. I'll go on the like a shoot the chute ride that comes down and splashes. I love inner tube that you're in a multi-person tube and it's kind of a river rafting experience. I love those. I love water parks. I love water slides. I love lazy river rides. I love the wave pools. I mean, you name it, I love it. The whole experience. I also love the shows at theme parks. I think the people that perform at theme parks are incredibly talented. I love street performers. Sometimes a lot of parks have street performers. That's a lot of fun with the attractions. The parades are fun, right? If you go to a park that has any kind of parade, you're going to find me there. Same thing goes with nighttime shows, fireworks spectaculars, laser shows, water spectaculars, right? That stuff is super fun for me. Train rides. I like riding trains. Carousel rides are fun. Old-fashioned cars that you drive around, right? You hear that old motor just like that stuff is so much fun. I wouldn't consider myself a coaster enthusiast. I would consider myself an amusement park enthusiast. I love the whole experience. So now those are my first three favorite things, right? I love planning amusement park trips, makes me super happy. I love the atmosphere of a theme park, makes me super happy. And finally, I love all the attractions in a theme park, makes me super happy. Now, what about cruise vacations? Let's go to there as we can build up to these 10 favorite things. By the time you see this video, I will be back from my 10th cruise vacation, which was a cruise from Los Angeles down the west coast of Mexico. And so I'm going to talk about that trip in season 3 of the Strength, Yoga, and Freedom podcast, because as of the time of recording, I haven't gone yet. But when you see this, I will be back. And it's really, I love cruising so much for these reasons. Let's start with number 1. I love cruise embarkation day and going to the cruise terminal. Now, for those of you that are not cruisers, let me explain to you what the cruise terminal is and what embarkation day is. Embarkation day is the very first day of your cruise. So this is the day that you are going to board your cruise ship. Just like when you go to the airport and you board your plane, like the day you're flying, this is the day that you're boarding your cruise. On embarkation day, that's the day when people get off and people get on. And being in the cruise terminal for me is one of the most exciting things that I can experience, because it feels like when I enter the cruise terminal, I am leaving my life behind, this day-to-day life I'm in, and I'm going into a different life for the next week or so. And changing my life like that within seconds, for me, gives my soul a huge rush. It gives me the dopamine hit. It's like you are about to embark on an amazing journey and experience that is so hard to find elsewhere for me. So embarkation day, going into that cruise terminal, while it can be a little annoying when you have to go through security again, you have to go through all your documents and you have to check in like you would do at an airport and drop off your suitcases and do health questionnaires and, like I said, security scannings and bag drops, and that stuff's not fun. But when you're sitting there and you're waiting to be called to board, it is literally like you're in this like middle ground going into a new life for 7, 8, 9, 5, whatever it is, days. It's so exciting. And so walking into a theme park for me is very similar to this, as I mentioned before, when you don't have the outside world. But the fact that you go into this, right, into this cruise terminal that is like a gateway to like this huge adventure you're about to embark on, it is so exciting. And the other thing that's exciting about this is that when you're getting ready to get on a cruise ship, you know that you're not really going to have to do shit for the next week. Yeah, you'll have to know, where do I want to eat my dinner? Or maybe you've pre-scheduled some things, or you still have to pre-schedule a few things or decide on what you're going to be doing very minimally. But the major decisions are taken away. You don't have to wash clothes. You don't have to do dishes. You're not doing laundry, as I mentioned with the clothes. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You don't have to cook, right? You're not managing a lot of your life while you're on that cruise. It's a glorious day to embark on your cruise ship. And the fact that people are going to literally wait on you through an entire week is super exciting, because you deserve that sometimes. You work hard, and when you take vacations like that, it's wonderful to be waited on. It's wonderful because you're providing service hopefully throughout your life, your day. It's wonderful to get that back. And so going through the cruise terminal on embarkation day is so exciting. Number 2, I love the cruise ports of call. Many people love to travel and see exotic destinations or places they've never gone, and they do it via air travel, or they do it by train sometimes. For me, seeing places around the world through ports of call on a cruise ship, and by ports of call, we mean the places that the cruise ship stops and docks. Sometimes it stops at 3 places on your week-long trip, sometimes 4, sometimes 1. I've been on a cruise where we've had 1 stop, and we were there for 3 days, and you can get on and off. Sometimes you just get on a ship and you take a transatlantic cruise or some other cruise where it's repositioning, so you're just doing sea days. So that's fine too, but here's the thing about ports of call. This is a way for you to see the world and do it through that cruise vacation. So when you go on these cruises and you go into ports of call, you can take what's called shore excursions, and you can do amazing fun things like going horseback riding or snorkeling or swimming with stingrays or swimming with dolphins, or maybe you're visiting a jungle, or you're going zip lining or climbing waterfalls. I've done a lot of those things that I just listed off to you in different places. And plus, being in a different country and being with different people of different cultures is so enriching to me. I just light up with that. So that's another one of my most favorite things, cruise ports of call. And guess what else I love? Number 3 on cruises, sea days. I mentioned it before when I talked about the transatlantic. Sea days are so fun. Now, remember when I told you about getting onto the ship and coming up, you're not going to have to make a lot of decisions? Sea days are a day where you're making the least amount of decisions, where you're the least amount of kind of aware, right? You can be sitting there all day long doing nothing but eating, maybe drinking your cocktails, maybe swimming, maybe going down the water slides. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to. You could read, you could be active, you could go to the gym, you could go to the spa if you like. It's literally amazing when you're on sea days. And the best part of sea days, I think, is the day that it comes, the sea day comes, and you wake up and you open up your window or you go out to the deck and you see nothing but beautiful ocean. That's it. And it's wonderful. You start your day like that. Most of us start our day where we have to look at other houses or we look at the neighborhood. Not that that's a bad thing, but the change of the scenery to something that freaking relaxing is unprecedented. So cruise sea days are some of the happiest times I've probably ever had as a human being. They are absolutely rejuvenating, and you get to pick whatever you want to do or do anything at all. Now, let's talk about the day-to-day stuff. So we've already revealed 6 of my favorite things. I want to talk about a few more things in my day-to-day life. So one of my most favorite things, as you may have already guessed it, is my yoga practice. I love taking yoga classes and I love teaching yoga classes. I teach regularly, not just the online classes I provide on my YouTube channel, but I teach regularly in a studio where I live. I teach power vinyasa yoga, I teach yin yoga, and I teach other varieties of yoga on a regular basis. And what I love about the practice of yoga is that it's not always just the yoga class. It involves doing other things like meditation. It involves maybe doing journaling. It involves maybe being in relationships with other people and using the foundation of yoga as your guide. Some of you may use another guide in your relationships. You may call it your set of ethics or your set of values. And I have that as well through my relationships in the world. And so for me, it's my favorite thing to pour the practice of yoga out to other people and soak the practice of yoga in through other people and through classes and through movements and through whatever else I'm doing in regards to yoga every day. Also learning and studying, working on my next training level, that kind of stuff. So much fun, so much purpose, so much happiness. Number 2, when it comes to my day-to-day life, television. Now, I am not a all-day TV watcher. I do not allow myself to watch TV all day because it could get out of control. But what I do is on days off, I allow myself more TV time. And I also allow myself time for TV every evening. I watch General Hospital. I've been a General Hospital fan for 25 plus years probably. So that is a show that it is something I look forward to. It is where I don't have to think and I can just watch. Because I love cruise vacations and because I love theme parks and because I also love game shows, that's another thing I love a lot. It's not on my top 10, but I love them, especially classic game shows. I love watching documentaries about all of these things. I love watching fan-made videos or fan-made documentaries or interviews with people, behind the scenes stuff. I follow all of that. I love all of that. It is part of my interests, my hobbies, what lights me up, what makes me happy on a day-to-day basis. So there are very rare days, very few days, I should say, that go by that I'm not taking in an episode of General Hospital or enjoying the fan groups I belong to online or watching my favorite YouTubers talk about those things. So I integrate my TV time into the things that make me feel the happiest. I don't feel happy when I watch horror movies, so I'm not going to watch horror movies, right? And finally, guilt-free spending. Now, if you listen to my episode, which was episode number 2, this season on your relationship to money, you will know that I set aside a certain amount of money each month for guilt-free spending. This could mean something different for you than it does for me, but let me talk about what that could mean for me when it comes to guilt-free spending. Now, these aren't things I spend money on every day, every week. It just depends on what kind of mood I'm in and how much guilt-free spending money I have. Because if the guilt-free spending money gets low, it's hard to say guilt-free spending money, isn't it? But when it gets low, that means you don't I don't take it out of other places because that would be detrimental to my money system. But when the guilt-free money is there, I allow it to be on things like ice cream, which is a big favorite of mine. I'm not above a Dairy Queen visit. I'm not above, we have a local shop in that's actually expanded, but in Ohio, it's called Handles. They have phenomenal ice cream. So like I love sometimes just going out and having a nice freaking ice cream, right? $5, $6, guilt-free spending. Same goes with coffee buying. If you go to your Starbucks or you go to your Dunkin', I love those treats sometimes, guilt-free. Buying clothes, right? My body has changed in the past several years due to my yoga practice, so I've had to change the sizes and the way that the clothes fit has changed. So I love spending money on clothes that make me feel great. I don't care what other people think. I love to shop on the things that make me feel like I look amazing. I love going out to eat. I love spending money on takeout. I love supporting restaurants, especially local ones, who are supplying me with lunches sometimes or breakfasts or dinners. That's a guilt-free spend for me. Going out to eat, I love that. I love going to maybe local things like zoos or festivals or local events, or even taking like a day trip and doing some yoga at a different place where I have to pay a certain amount of money to go to a yoga event or a yoga training or something like that. Again, guilt-free spending, something that's going to lift me up. And shopping, I enjoy a shopping trip. If I want something, generally I buy it. Now, if it's way out of my price range, of course I'm not going to buy it, and I have to be smart about that. But for the most part, like for example, the microphone I'm using, I decided I needed a new microphone. I bought it. I needed new headphones for my traveling. I bought them. If I feel like they need extra toys or I want to spend some money on some fun food for them, I buy it. Guilt-free spending. So now I've talked about 9 things. I've talked about 3 things in the theme parks, 3 things with cruising, and 3 day-to-day things. What am I missing? Well, here it is, and it goes in all of these aspects. This last one, food. That's right. I love food. I love eating. I love everything to do with trying out different foods. And that's what I love about cruising, about theme parks, and about my day-to-day life. Food. I mentioned going out to eat, of course, in my day-to-day life, but I love food. And I eat pretty healthy on a regular basis. However, I told you already, I enjoy ice cream sometimes, and I enjoy foods that are going to be comforting for me. So I am not going to restrict everything in my diet all the time because I feel as though I take really good care of myself and I deserve to eat foods that taste delicious. And so I allow myself to have fun with food. And so maybe that's you too. But those are my 10 favorite things. And I'm going to keep pushing towards those 10 favorite things in those little subcategories because as you probably have heard in the tone of my voice or are watching it on YouTube, you hear how I light up. You see how I light up. Even watching myself film this, I see my reactions like I'm lighting up because these are the things that hit my soul. And as you move year after year after year, if you concentrate on the things that make you feel happy, guess what's happening? You're living a happier life. And it does take work, and all the episodes I've talked about before with routines and, with exercising and with all those hard things that we don't want to do and we're not motivated to do. But the happy stuff, the long-term, not just the short-term happiness where we're filling voids, the long-term happiness, that's where it's all at. And I love these things. Tell me what your favorite things are. I would love to hear about it in the comments in the YouTube video or send it to me via social media. All of the links are available in the show notes for this episode. In the very last episode of this year and this season, we are going to talk about your year end, your year in review. And maybe you take a look now at what are your favorite things for yourself, for maybe the things that you want to share with others, and you gear yourself up for 2024 in knowing that you have all these favorite things because they're the things that light you up and they're the things you want to move towards. And everybody has their own special list of them. I'd love for you to investigate what yours really are, truly what makes you happy. It's just outstanding when you really hone in on it. Until next time, I'm wishing you a lot of happiness. I'm wishing you days filled with your favorite things. Why? Because you deserve it. See you next time.